As said previously, sincerity, honesty, or authenticity. Anybody got any theories? What's the difference? Then I'll speak at once. I don't know. They're all different things. Why? I don't do stand-up. I can tell funny stories sometimes. The stuff I really want to tell tends to be dark and painful and long and complicated. I'm not going to do that. Don't worry about it. But I got lost between this idea of what is sincere, what's honest, and what's authentic. And it's also weird timing this week. I dug up a bunch of old videotapes, and I found a version of West Side Story that I was in 1987. I had a small part. Like, I had one line. I was one of the sharks. Yeah, the less said, the better. But I dug up the videotape, and a friend of mine digitized it, and I've shared it with a bunch of people, and it reminded me that I got what the word is. I got interrogated because there was a girl in the cast who had a crush on me, and I had no idea that she had. But near the end of the run of the show, various girls came up to me and said, "You know that Carly's got a crush on you. She's got a big crush on you. You've never noticed that she had a crush on you. You never noticed. She thinks that you're trying to be cavalier or something, but she really has a crush on you." And I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't think she particularly liked me. Well, she did. And maybe you can make it up to her. Make what up to her? I haven't done anything. Yeah, but you can make it up to her, because just before the last song, the last version of "There's a Place for Us," we were all backstage trying to get sad for the big denouement of the play, and they kept saying, just like, she's going to give you a hug. Just hug her until she stops. And Carly, who was about this tall and had big brown eyes, and I think she was Portuguese, came up to me while this song is in the background, and she wraps herself around me. And it was kind of sweet, because I felt really confused, but I felt like that this is the part I'm supposed to play. I mean, I don't know why she didn't tell me she liked me, and maybe she knew I had a girlfriend. In fact, I had two at the time. It's a long story. Or something like that, but it was really sweet. I have this weird, very topical, sweet memory from that one moment in the song, and this girl closing her eyes and smiling, holding on to me. That's a long time ago. Now we got to jump forward. Around 4 years ago, and as you've noticed, I'm over 50. I'm working for a bank. I am a business communicator, and two weird things happen within 48 hours. The first is we've got summer students, and they're all maybe 23 years old. They're in university, or they're just leaving. I am told that one of the summer students has a crush on me. Of course. I am a technical writer / business communicator who's married with 2 kids over the age of 50. What's to resist for a student who's around 23, 24 years old? And my response to the 2 women who are also about my age and also married with kids was, "What the hell are you talking about?" I said, No, Vanessa, she's told all of us. I mean, she's had a crush on you since she started. Why? I mean, I don't know if I'm flattered or deeply worried for her mental health. I barely worked with her. I don't know why are you telling me this? But it felt the same. It felt like they were kind of closing ranks. I had this weird flashback to that West Side Story. I thought what they're going to say, well, she just wants to like hold on to you, and will you listen to "There's a Place for Us"? I had no idea why this was happening. It was, however, set up there was going to be a group lunch to say goodbye to them, and I was told I have to be there. This felt bizarre and adolescent, but by they, I mean the women telling me to do this, they seemed very serious about it. I don't know why. But I said, okay, I'll go to lunch. I'll sit next to her and I'll talk about, I don't know, work. And as I'm trying to deal with all this, and this is a bit weird, and I'm not particularly happy in the job, I open my desk drawer, and there's a note. And the note says, and I quote, I'm not making this up, the note says, quote, "I'm not going to tell you who I am yet, but here's what I want to give you." And the note included a photograph. Can you guess what the photo was of? Because I'm sure you can. Whatever you're thinking, it was a little more explicit than that. I can't deal with Vanessa and the various people telling me that I have to have lunch with her because she has a crush on me for reasons I cannot fathom. And I've got this note. I don't think it's from Vanessa. Like, I have no idea where this has come from. Just for some reason, they are very separate things in my consciousness. I went to HR immediately with the note and said, I got this in my desk. I have no idea who's doing this. I want nothing to do with this. I don't know what to tell you. I haven't initiated this. I haven't flirted with anybody. I have no idea why the hell this is happening, but I have to tell somebody. And HR kept saying, oh, okay. Now, do you have any special friendships with anybody at work? No. Have you had perhaps a relationship that maybe you would not want to tell your wife? No. Have you flirted? No. Have you done something that could be seen as flirting? No. And after around 20 minutes of this, they said, this is the actual letter, right? It's not a photocopy? I said, no, it's the real letter. I said, leave it with us. Did you know that there is something called microdots? And a microdot can tell you what printer it came from and when it came through, and then they can look at the records to see who sent it to the printer. So after around 3 days, I got called down to HR and they said, we know who did this. What do you want to do? And I said, nothing. I want them to be told not to do it again. I don't care if I know who it is. I just want nothing to do with this whatsoever. I don't want anybody fired. I don't want to file an official complaint. I just want somebody, I want a grown-up to say, don't do this. Turns out it was a contractor who was just leaving for reasons I don't know. And the same reason I have no idea why Vanessa did that. All of this wraps up fairly well. The contractor left. She never spoke to me again. I only found out who it was after I left the job. I went for the lunch with 5 or 6 other people with Vanessa and had pleasant conversation like I had been having for months. And if she had some great fondness for me, I don't know why. And eventually I left the job. And I'm bringing all this up because we're talking about honesty or sincerity or authenticity. Because I'm thinking honesty is to tell somebody, I have a crush or a fondness or a need or a longing for somebody. That's honest. Sincerity is saying, dude, listen, this woman told me this, and you know, maybe it's none of my business, but like sincerely, I think you should know about it. And authenticity is repeating this story note for note, because it reminds me of something that happened like 40 years ago in a musical. And then something that happened 5 years ago with someone I can't understand being fond of me in a way that I can't understand. And the authenticity is relating all of this in one story, trying to fathom why it all happened and why I remember it. And maybe it's going to twig something in somebody listening to it. I don't know if the story had to be told, but congratulations. Thank you for your time. Good night.
So storytelling is a talking art, and do you think people view it with authenticity in mind, or like, what's real? What's real about acting, I guess, is what I'm asking, right?
Oh,
because an actor is pretending to be somebody else, or even when you're telling a story, you might be telling it in a different voice, but there's some realness to it. What is that? Like, what?
You can parse that a million different ways. Mm-hmm. Marlon Brando very famously was a method actor who also thought method acting was pointless. Mm. He said you can fake it just as well. Laurence Olivier was never a method actor. He said, my dear boy, you just have to learn to act.
Right, have you tried acting?
Yeah, something like that. I get asked over the years, are your stories real? And I always say I scramble up names and dates and locations because if the person I'm talking about shows up, I don't want them to be identifiable. But if they come face to face with me, I can say, well, I told that story because you did A, B, C, and D. And no one's ever showed up and yelled at me about it. There were 1 or 2 times when I thought it might happen. So authenticity is already a slippery slope because I'm admitting I will manipulate timelines and such. But on the whole, both my response to something and the triggering event is real. That matters to me, and it's largely because the events I went to in Toronto always said this needs to be honest. everyone in Toronto, to some extent, knows everybody else. I didn't want to be accused of making up a story to make myself look good or more important or what have you.
Well, I mean, so you're pretending to be somebody else, but authentically it could reveal something about the actor or the performer.
I used to do theater. There's some parts I could look at and think I could never play that. Even if I got away with saying the words properly and intoning them properly, I don't think anybody would buy it. There are other parts I would kill to play. And I'm just weird. I've always wanted to do a serious drama, which nobody wants to watch. I've always wanted to do
Right,
like Chekhov and Eugene O'Neill and stuff like that. Because when I've read it, I can think, if you get away with this, the audience won't think this is stilted or this is overly dated or old or too wordy. They will just catch into it.
I've kind of been always anxious about even trying. It seems like singing and acting seem like it's hard because like there's something in me. I guess maybe it's kind of like a error correction in me that's always on the lookout for authenticity in a way. Like I want to be really me, and when I do it, I don't want to be bullshit about it. But then I feel like when you're singing, you might reveal too much about yourself.
The story I told tonight was the only assembly on short notice that I could think of something that was honest and sincere and authentic all at the same time. That wasn't, some dark story from my past that I either want to understand and that's why I tell the story, or I just want to get out of my system. And you can't do that all the time.
Do you practice, or is the art for you the flowing of that idea or story that's taking shape as you're...
It depends. Mm-hmm. Tonight, I had 3 things lined up. One was the one I told. One would need more exposition about why I think it's an authentic story to tell. And one was essentially a long, dirty joke.
Those are fun, yeah.
But I don't think I could pull off the dirty joke as well as a stand-up could do it. So I'd rather tell a story that has funny moments than try to be funny because it'll feel strained.
You tried comedy a couple of times here as well.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a different art form.
It doesn't come naturally. I can put the pieces together and speak the pieces in the order they should be in. That's different than someone who can do it completely naturally, who walks on stage as if they're there accidentally and looks around and goes, "Oh, by the way," and kills. I could never do that. I respect the hell out of it, but I can't do it.
Yeah, that's more, in my terminology, that's more of the body and less of the mind. And your mind's like having to catch up and make sense of it.
And I can do that with a narrative. I can't do it with a joke.
Yeah, well, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. There's a moment anytime you walk on stage, whether you're doing theater or music or monologues or stand-up, where you think, why the hell am I doing this? I should not be doing this. I'm about to drown.
Yeah.
And then, you can drown. You can drown in 10 feet of water, or you can drown in 500 feet of water. There's a point at which you start swimming and you realize, oh, I'll be fine, I'm swimming. That makes sense.
That does make sense. Mike Dirbecker.
Thank you. Good night.
Mike.